Hello everybody and welcome to SFF 180 and the first of my website wrap-up videos, which you may or may not remember that I announced about a month or so ago on the mailbag. Alright, it is late in the evening as I am recording this, very quiet time, good time to be working on this stuff. The world has kind of shut down and gone to bed, but here I am, right? Responsible adult, as always. Okay. My great shame of the last year has been the way in which I have very badly slacked off on my updating of the SFF 180 website. Now, of course, the website is the companion to the channel, and it is the relaunched and rebranded, redesigned, re-everythinged version of my original website, sfreviews.net, which I launched like 16 years ago. It's where I got started in all of this crazy business, this silly little hobby of mine. And so the idea was relaunch the site, make a fresh start. sfreviews.net had had its day, time to sort of turn over a new leaf. And but at the same time, bring over all of this vast web archive of reviews that I'd done for all these years, which I'm still very proud of. And it sort of stands as my it's my life record of reading science fiction, basically. So I announced it with quite a lot of fanfare like a year ago, this big relaunch. And then, of course, I moved and everything. And since then, I haven't really done much to touch it. I have been an utter asshole about that, very irresponsible. And I've just decided, all right, time to get it together, time to quit messing around and just do the thing. So here is what I have worked on so far. First off, hooray, the main page, the home page, has been brought current for the first time since, I'm not even kidding, like January. That's how bad I've been about this. And I just felt terrible about it. Something this important, and I've just sort of let it slack off like this. But anyway, the home page is current. And so what you can see are essentially, at the top of the page, you get my mailbag videos, my most recent episode of the mailbag, and my most recent review video are embedded right there at the top of the home page. And then if you scroll down a bit, you'll get the written versions of whatever the 10 most reviews I've just uploaded are. Okay, and that feels good to have this up to date. And every week now, or at least every time there's a new mailbag, I will that very day be refreshing the home page with the newest mailbag embedded on the home page. So that's a promise. Secondly, the way in which I sort of organize my navigation for the older reviews is I have several different menus that I use. There's I categorize books by the title, by the year of their release, and also by the author's name. Last name, right? So, Larry Niven would be under N and not L, because that's how intelligent people do it. All right? Okay, so the author menu that I've been working on lately, I decided to start with the author menus. And the most recent one I've completed is J. And of course, the reason I decided to do J was because I've just finished The Stone Sky, and I just reviewed that. That finishes my reviews of the entire Broken Earth trilogy, which I think is going to become a future classic of SFF. I think it's I literally think in future years it's going to be regarded as like a Le Guin level classic of SFF. So I decided to do that whole author menu because there's not that much, aren't that many J novels, J author novels that I have reviewed. But it still took quite a long time to do. Because I'm almost like artisanal in terms of like how I construct these websites. Very old school, my approach, but it allows me to just make everything look exactly the way I want it to. But one of the things that was fun about doing this was I've gone back and I've found reviews that I wrote, as many as 20 years ago. It's impossible to believe that time has passed. And it will pass for you as well. Make no mistake. But some of these that I read these books ages ago, I wrote the review, posted it, and then I haven't even read the review, really, like in all these intervening years. And it was fun to go back and look at some of these. On the J menus, you will find my aborted attempt to start the Wheel of Time. I only ever got through The Eye of the World. the first book, and you can see my rather blistering review of The Eye of the World on the J page. It's kind of fun. I want to, simply for the sake of doing it, because I feel ridiculous sort of trying to have this like prominent review website and the most famous epic fantasy series not being represented on it, or at least not being covered. I do want to, believe it or not, read the whole Wheel of Time series, all 14 of those ridiculous tomes. And that will probably require starting over The Eye of the World. I do not anticipate that my reread of The Eye of the World will measurably improve my opinion of it. But at least I'll be able to kind of put it in a context, and I'll understand its historical significance and what have you. And at least I'll be freshened up on the story to move on to 2, 3, 4. I have no idea when I'll start this, but it is a thing that I want to do, regardless of the fact that at the time I read Eye of the World, I just dismissed it as a purely formulaic. It goes right back to the whole Tolkien, Lord of the Rings, quest fantasy formula, and doesn't really do too much to distinguish itself beyond that. And that's the main burden of my criticism of that book. But anyway, okay, so that's the J menu done. And then the next author list that I'm working on for August and probably through September will be H. I have some of the H stuff updated already. But one thing that I've found, well, the reason I've chosen H, by the way, is because Sam over at Sam's Nonsense has everybody reading the Robin Hobbs, like all 16 of her books, and I've decided to join along with that. And I'm about halfway through Assassin's Apprentice, quite liking it, actually. And so I thought, okay, well, I'll just do H next. That makes life easy there. But one thing that I've found is that while I don't have too much of a desire to go back and reread a lot of stuff from over these last 15, 20 years of the website, a few things I would. Whether it's like a series that I started, book 1, never went on with the rest of it to finish it, that's another bad habit of mine. Or something where maybe I'd like a bit of a fresher perspective on it. Or it's just an author that I really like and I miss. I do plan to do a few rereads of a few titles in the H, mainly Peter F. Hamilton. Because I really love Peter F. Hamilton's absolutely loopy, and the man writes the most insane space operas. He knows no shame. I mean, he'll just do anything with his stories, but that's kind of the appeal, that they're just ridiculously over the top. But I do want to redo that. I want to reread the Night's Dawn books and then do the whole Commonwealth, like front to back, and come in with a fresher perspective and probably refresh some of my original reviews of those. So that'll be a thing that I'd like to start, maybe this fall with those. Because, again, not enough space opera and science fiction in my diet, and I really want to get into, something that I love. And then I can go forward with, the more recent Hamiltons that I still have yet to read, like The Abyss Beyond Dreams and Night Without Stars, and some of those Great North Road. It's just been... his books are intimidating. They're like 1,000 pages long. So you're like, oh, I want to read this, but Jesus. But I do want to, so that'll be an excuse to do that. But anyway, H is going to be the next letter that I do. And I've also did Z. I did Z because there's not a whole lot under Z, authors named Z. And shamefully, I've not read or reviewed nearly as much Roger Zelazny as I should, because he's one of the great classic writers. So I suppose I should start reading more Zelazny. Okay, anyway, point of all of this. Why do I just do the website wrap-ups for you? Well, first off, because those of you who've discovered me through the channel aren't really aware of my backlog and my history of being a web reviewer. And you might like to check out some of my older stuff, reviews of older books. And also because going on into the future, I have tons of retro books, old paperbacks in boxes, that I do want to read. I don't just want to dump them, I want to read them before I dump them. And so there will be, in the future, retro books that I read that I will review only in written form. I won't necessarily do retro review videos, retro episodes of every retro title that I read. Some of them might just not be, some of them might be shit, so they might just not be worth it generally. But Suffice it to say, I will be producing review content that you won't see on BookTube. It'll just be on sff180.com. So there's that. And what I'll be doing then with these monthly update videos is letting you know if I do anything like that. Like, here's something I just read, but I only review it here on the site. And then I'll let you know about those reviews if you want to check those out. And I just think I had a dog, either a dog or a ghost, enter my room. We'll find out. All right, so that is it. That's my wrap-up, I guess, for July with the update on the website. Feels good to be doing this. Lots of work, lots of very geeky, sort of like getting in there on Dreamweaver and dicking around with, website code and all of that. But I'm pleased with the results. And so check the links below in the description. Have a look at some of this stuff. And once again, thank you all for being wonderful viewers and a great audience. And I want to thank my Patreon people as well as all of you here just viewing on YouTube for all the support that you've given me. All right, so until I see you next time, happy reading.